What's going on, guys? My name is Phantom Foolery. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create randomized loot in your Fortnite creative matches. As you can see, within a couple seconds of spawning, our character is granted a completely randomized set of loot. Let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is get an item granter from the Fortnite creative inventory. Throw it down wherever you'd like, as long as it's out of the way of the main map. To configure the settings for your item granter, open the menu. Set Enable on Game Start to Yes, Receiving Players to Team 1, On Grant Action to Keep All, Grant to Current Item, Grant Condition to Always, Grant on Cycle to No, Equip Granted Item to Don't Equip, but you can change that as you see fit. Remove item on grant to no, give extra ammo as yes, cycle behavior as wrap, enable and disable when receiving from can be left alone, grant item when receiving from to channel 2, cycle to random item when receiving from channel 1, and when item granted, transmit on channel 1. You need to make one copy of this item granter for every item you want this team to have. For instance, in this game, our players will have 5 items in their inventory, so we need 5 copies of this. Each item granter represents one inventory slot, so the first item granter will be filled with all the items you want randomized in the first slot of the player's inventory. The second item granter represents the second slot, and so on. So, in the first granter, you want to put all of the items you want there to be a random chance of spawning in the first slot of the player's inventory. In this game, I want the players to have ARs in their first slot, so I will put all the randomized ARs I want in the first item granter. I will now repeat the process with the other 4 spawners. Now that that is done, we need to make a copy of the spawners for every team in the game. In this game mode, there will be only 2 teams, the nature team and the building team, so we only need 2 copies of the spawners. However, if you had more teams, you would need to make a copy of each of the spawners for each of the teams. You need to set the receiving player setting in the new spawners to Team 2. Do this for all of the new spawners. If you had a third team present, you would need a third row of item granters, and their settings would be set to Team 3. Do this as many times for as many teams as you need, repeating the process accordingly. The last thing we will build is an actuator that will start the process of granting the loot. To do that, we will use a golf cart. In this process, a golf cart will be hit by an ice trap and a spike trap, which will move it down a ramp. When it goes down that ramp, it will hit 2 buttons. To build this, we're first going to need an ATK, an ice trap, and a spike trap. Place the ATK so it's pointed down the ramp you built. Then, place a spike trap on one side, and an ice trap on the other side of the wall surrounding the ATK. This will, when the game starts, force the ATK down the ramp, where it will soon press 2 buttons we place underneath it. To prevent the ATK from stopping where it is right now, we will need to put a speed boost to get it out of the way of our game. You may need to destroy the ATK in order to place a speed trap underneath it where it lands. Now, get 2 triggers, or 1 and copy it from the creative inventory. Throw it down somewhere in the path of the ATK. Now, move the spawners so they are very close to the start of the ATK spawn. The closer they are to the spawner, the sooner the loot will be granted. However, do not stack them so that they are on the same level. One must be hit before the other is. Set the first trigger to trigger transmit on channel 1, and set the second one to transmit on channel 2. After you've done that, Set the reset delay on the channel 2 trigger to something greater than 1 second. This will prevent it from triggering twice and granting twice the loot. Make sure you do not place traps in the box that the ATK ends in, because that will end in it restarting and triggering the buttons again. That's all the mechanics required. Now all that's left to do is start the game and see if it works. As you can see from the spawn pad I placed in front of the builds. As soon as the game starts, the ATK is triggered, where it bumps the buttons and grants us our loot. It will grant these items in a random order, so feel free to rearrange them and begin your fight. Thanks for watching. If you did learn something, please consider subscribing so I can get a supporter creator code. Bye bye.